Thank you, Barry. The other quarterfinal match today will be between Mats Wilander and Andrej Chesnokov of the Soviet Union. They have a very interesting history, and it really all started here at the French Championships 3 years ago. Now, in that match, Chesnokov surprised Wilander. Wilander had won the French Open the year prior to that, and Chesnokov of the Soviet Union, just a youngster at the time, came back, and you are watching match point on court number 1 of that extraordinary match. The history after that was also quite interesting, because Mats Wilander came back in Monte Carlo the following year and in Rome and destroyed Chesnokov. But again, match point of the match that you have just seen was won in a surprise by Andrej Chesnokov over the man who was the holder of the title at that time. Now let me introduce you to Mary Carrillo, who's going to be watching that match along with me, and we've got two players who play very similarly. Mary, how do you see it?
Well, they do. You know, Mats Wilander claims that he's playing, he feels at about 90%. The other 10% that he's missing from last year isn't technical. It's concentration. If you throw out the first set of all of the matches he's played to get into this quarterfinal, he's playing good ball. He's playing on par or better than he played a year ago when he was in trouble down match point in the third round against Slobodan Zivijinovic. And that's why I think he'll beat Chesnokov. I think they do play very similarly. You know, the framework of Chesnokov's game is so simple. Very much a counterpuncher, hits the ball deep, goes for the short ball. But Wilander's able to do more. You know, he can serve and volley if he has to. He's very capable of that, even on clay. And I think he's getting into this tournament. I think he'll win this one.
That mental thing definitely affects his technical capabilities, though, Mary, in spite of the fact that he says that it doesn't or may not feel like it does. He's hitting the ball short. He's hitting the ball into the net, something that he just normally never does, Wilander. Yeah,
that's true. And that'll be the thing. If he's not up to par, concentration-wise, Chesnokov will beat him, because Chesnokov's game is so simple but so thick. It's so strong.
You know, the other thing about Chesnokov, Mary, and we've seen him play on court number 1, is he's just playing awfully well. If you give him an inch, he will just take everything that he can. Well, it is Chesnokov playing against the number 4 seed in this championship and the holder, again, of this tournament, the French Open last year, Mats Wilander. Barry? Mats Wilander has never lost a match at the French Championship after winning the first set. He has not lost a set in this tournament yet. So on the face of it, it looks like for Mats Wilander against Andrej Chesnokov of the Soviet Union today, that it has been a relatively easy time for him relative to what it was last year. But Mary, of course, last year you remember how much trouble he was in during the championship, but at the end of it all, against Henri Lecomte, he was breathless.
At the end of it all, he had the easiest match of his whole tournament against Henri Lecomte in the finals. Just lost a couple of games. And he's playing his way into this match, I think, very well, too. He just doesn't look, as commanding to me as Edberg is, say, or Boris Becker. I think they've played better tennis, but he is much more solid than he has shown surely earlier this year, where he had really a disastrous couple of months.
Remember, he had a good draw coming into this tournament as well. The 4 players directly next to him in the draw were all qualifiers in the championship, so that made a difference as well. A year ago, he had a much, much tougher time. You remember that match that he played against Zivijinovic that, frankly, he was lucky to get out of. In this tournament, he was the number 4 seed. He beat Carbonell, as you can see, and then Diego Perez of Uruguay, Camporese, and then Lawson Duncan of the USA, who is a clay court expert from North Carolina and a fine player. But if you were to say, well, in order to get to the quarterfinals of the French Championships, you play those 4 guys, believe me, that is a good draw, and that's how it has been for Mats Wilander. It's a cold day again today, relatively here. Some biting wind, and there is a player in this championships as well that we have not talked much about, and that is the wind. The wind certainly helped Ronald Agenor when he played against Tim Mayotte. The match had to be suspended. They came out the next day. The conditions were wet the next day, and they hurt Mayotte. So one of the players in this tournament, and it is again a player here today, just because there's so much rain. As you can see, there's almost no wind at all. That flag is just about dead still. But there is rain still in the forecast for today. It may or may not come.
Well, this is Mats Wilander's 8th French Open. In the 7 previous French, he failed to get to the semis only once, and that was against this man, Chesnokov. In '86, he lost in the 3rd round to him in straight sets. So he is a man to be feared, Andrej Chesnokov.
Again, that match with Jim Courier, he was down 2 sets. Love came back and won at 7-5 in the fifth. He also beat Karl-Uwe Stieb of West Germany. He won that match again in 4 sets, losing the first set. This man is relatively a slow starter because against Svensson of Sweden, again, he lost the first set and then won the next 3. But Chesnokov, once he gets warmed up, is a very, very tough player who just, as I said, just never lets go. That's how he got here, Araya in the first round. And then, as I just told you, Svensson losing the first set, Stieb of West Germany. Remember that name because we'll be covering him when we get to Munich to cover the USA versus West Germany. Stieb will be playing for West Germany, and then Courier lost the first 2 sets and came back.
Don't you feel, Cliff, that we're going to be seeing from Chesnokov as well as Wilander an awful lot of feeling out in this whole first set? Because, as you say, they both tend to start slowly. And I have a feeling we're going to be able to tell mentally just what kind of shape they're both in, how they attack this first set, which is vital to both of them.
I entirely agree with that. It's going to be fascinating. Mats Wilander especially. How fragile is he mentally? Well, we'll find out when we come back live to start Roland Garros. This is the first point of the match. Gee, that was a long point, and there may be a lot more of that today. 15 love. Noah and Chesnokov.
Not too many people can beat him here.
And Lendl.
But he still says, I'm holding it back a little bit, especially on break points and passing shots. I need to go for it more. He knows just where he is, Wilander, just where his game is coming into this match. He must not hit short, Wilander, because Chesnokov knows what to do with the short ball.
Men's quarterfinal match. This is third point, 15 all. First game. Already in the semi-final, Stefan Edberg yesterday over Mancini and Boris Becker over Jay Berger in straight sets. Both of them in straight sets. Showed you that flag so still, it has started to wave a bit. It is a little windy out there, kind of gusts. Open court. Little more windy, as you can see. As I said, it kind of gusts up a little bit, and down there at court side where they're playing, It's very difficult to predict which way the wind is blowing. As you can see, patience is going to be a big factor in this match. Andrej Chesnokov lost his in that point, came into the net and paid the price. Game point, Wilander. You have the feeling that they both watched Bjorn Borg at the same time, just in different countries, and try to come up with the same kind of game, and they came up with not Borg's game, but something very similar to each other anyway. Game point for the holder of the title. Mats Wilander outlasts Andrej Chesnokov of the Soviet Union in the first game of the match. We'll be back. So much for our weather predictions of early last week when we got here. The weather was so good, and we were saying that the forecasters were saying, and they were, that we were going to have 2 good weeks. It really has not been that way for the last 3 or 4 days. If you've been with us, you know that. The clouds have been ever present. Some delays earlier today. This match, of course, is live. It's Andrej Chesnokov and Mats Wilander. And I'd be very surprised if we didn't get some more rain before today in the end of play. 44 and only 4 matches lost, and you saw to whom they were. Noah Chesnokov and twice to Lendl.
Wilander will have to draw more length. Again, anything slightly short. That's in that last shot of Lendl's, and Chesnokov put it away. And that's a perfect example, that last point, of what Mats' longtime coach, Jan Anders has said about Mats' play at the French this year. He said, Mats is playing too much like a goalkeeper. That last point was strictly defense.
Yeah, he took a look at that one, but it was clearly inside the line. No protest.
And one more time, Chesnokov gets a short enough ball. Step right in and went for it.
Game point. Ooh. Again, I remind you, the wind is gusty from the direction of the flags. It's going there in the direction of which Chesnokov hit that ball. It was wild shot, way deep. 1 game all in the first set.
The wind might keep both these players from really going for their shots for a few games, and this French crowd does not like that kind of tennis, do they? They're going to start whistling if things don't change.
There it is. You see the flags up there, and then we'll bring you down to courtside so you can see how the wind is going to swirl down there courtside too in that goldfish bowl. You made the comment, Mary, I think you're exactly right. The first few games, they're kind of feeling each other out, taking it easy. It's like two boxers sparring tentatively in the early stages.
That really seemed like a function of the wind. That, too, he framed the overhead, Chesnokov. Mishit this. Again, I think that's the wind, because on his next shot, too, he was off balance.
30 love. Mary, during the Eagle Tournament of Champions, the other players were talking about Mats Wilander, the man you're looking at, in terms of the fact that he wasn't playing well. Now, that's significant, because one thing, if you're not playing well, when the other players feel like you're vulnerable, then it does become a factor. But here we're at the French, and I think they sense that he's going to get his teeth into this tournament.
You know, they want him to come back. That's what I like. That's in the men's locker room. It's the same in the women's locker room about Chris Evert. The women want to see Chris play well again. The guys want to see Mats play well again. Look how far back Wilander is.
Game point to Mats Wilander. He's the official ITF World Champion. He was given his award last night along with Steffi Graf at a major bash downtown Paris. And he is, as you said, Mary, without a doubt, if not the most widely respected player on the tennis tour, he certainly is among it. They think so highly of him, and he's about to start to serve in the wrong court and finally catches it.
Both of them were in the wrong court.
Chesnokov was the one who started it all, because he's the receiver. He walked over there to receive serve. Wrong court. Doesn't often happen, does it? Game point.
Isn't it interesting that Wilander's the oldest guy left in the men's draw, and Steffi Graf is the oldest woman left in the semis of the women's draw? She's at least 2 years older than any other woman in this field. A couple of years ago, they were babies.
Well, he won his first French when he was just 17 years old, Mats Wilander. And he's 24 now.
Again, he's just not getting the depth on shot that he needs. Chesnokov gets a step right inside the baseline and hammer it home.
Mats Wilander holds on to serve. It is 2-1. No serve breaks yet in the match.
I don't think it's fair to say it's chess. Right now, it's checkers.
There you go. I thought that was taking it just a little too far.
haven't heard much applause yet. Again, this isn't the kind of tennis that the French fans really get excited about. They're waiting for something to happen. Oh!
Dirty love. The thing with these two players that I find interesting about watching them is that every swing of the racket is a question mark in their mind. They either come in, stay back, but they have that option. A guy like Becker, he's just trying to get in as quickly as he can. Then you contrast that with somebody like a Mancini, whose only interest in getting to the net is to shake hands, pick up the check.
Mancini hasn't played any Grand Slam but this one yet. He hasn't tried any other surface. But he will. Chesnokov taking the initiative. The fans like that.
40-15.
Game point. It is really blowing now. It is not only blowing, but it is kind of dark up there as well. You see how those flags are. It has become a major factor. The wind is in general blowing from Mats Wilander's side of the court into Chesnokov, but because it swirls, that's not always true. A little glance up from Mats Wilander to Skippy Ings in the chair to see whether he agreed with that call, and he didn't get any success with that. So 2 games all in the first set. Best of 5. There he is. That's Skippy Ings. Richard. They know him here in the French. France. Skippy. They all call him that, even the crowd. He gets into anything. Hey, Skippy. And they call him that because he's from Australia, so he skips like a kangaroo. So you know how these things turn out. That's where he gets his name, or his nickname. 15. Love 15. 2 games all.
It doesn't take much to get a nickname in Australia. Term of endearment.
0 times.
That's what Wilander has looked like in the first set of all of his matches coming into this quarterfinal.
Wilander in trouble on serve here now. Chesnokov's got 3 break points. That'll do it. Break his serve for Andrej Chesnokov of the Soviet Union. He leads it 3 games to 2.
Chesnokov met by twice yesterday.
A lot of paintings in the Louvre with those kind of skies.
He's got to the final tier 5 of 8 tries. He won it in 82, 85, and last year.
When he won it in 82, not only was it his first Grand Slam title, it was his first title ever. 17 years old, he won a Grand Slam.
And he was younger than Bjorn Borg, who won it when he was 18 the first time. I remember watching that match and wondering what Bjorn was thinking, because he'd retired by then. There's some frustration, frustrated shrug from Mats Wilander, and it is clearly not because of the cold or the potential for rain, but because of the wind. The wind is the one thing that will really hurt you out there in the tennis court, and they're both feeling the effects.
And once again, I hate to keep saying this, but Mats is hitting too short. He's allowing Chesnokov to take charge of these points. Another short one. Got to start hitting it harder and deeper. He's not doing anything to worry Chesnokov. He's got a couple of chances now to go up 4-2. Off the line.
Chesnokov.
So Chesnokov hasn't lost his serve yet. Wilander has lost his serve 1 time, 4 games to 2, and Wilander will serve into the wind. And by the way, into the sun. So when he throws the ball up, that's going to be a factor as well.
circle.
That's well done. 2 points in a row now, where Wilander has gone for just a little bit more. He played his first shot closer to the sideline. And on his second ball, as you can see, he took advantage of the moment. Finished it at the net. Chesnokov comes right back in his face, though. If you're having a bad mental day, you don't want to play someone like Andrej Chesnokov, do you? You want to play someone like Henri Leconte or Slobodan Zibajinovic, someone who can fade in and out themselves. Chesy, though, you know, it's tough to break him down.
Yeah, he doesn't give anything away, does he? Most people say that about playing against Mats Wilander himself, and it's equally true. I did not see and I didn't hear a call, so presumably that one was good. It is game point for Mats Wilander, but very close. And that drop volley. He won the first 2 points, then lost 2. Now he's got game point.
Punched up the pace. Robbed Wilander of the time he needed to come up with a good shot of his own.
A little lucky to stay in that one. Hit the tape, nearly bounced out.
Got it. Chesnokov's depth and consistency has been such a problem for Wilander. Throughout the tournament, Mats has averaged just 1 unforced error for every 12 points played. Today, he's making 1 error for every 4 points played.
This is break point for a second break for Chesnokov. And that should do it for the first set if he can win it.
That's a rare gift.
I'm Cliff Drysdale along with Mary Carrillo. This is live coverage of the French Open Tennis Championship quarterfinal men's singles. Mats Wilander of Sweden playing Andrej Chesnokov of the Soviet Union. We're in the first set, 4-2, one breaker serve for Chesnokov. Already in the semi-finals of the championship, Stefan Edberg and Boris Becker.
Avantage, Wilander.
The other quarterfinal match of the men's singles, Agenor of Haiti, who lives now in France, play against Michael Chang, who beat Ivan Lendl in this year's and maybe this championship's most dramatic match ever. And you will see it.
Wilander.
Well, Wilander was in trouble in that game, wasn't he? But he hung on. 4-3. Chesnokov still has the break in set number 1.
Chesnokov went by.
They have such similar games, these two, and you get a chance to check their similarities on the backhand side. They both have a two-handed backhand. It's their bread and butter shot. You see how low he gets to that because the ball was low, but he has a relatively short swing on it. Now, you watch Mats Wilander. This ball will get up a little bit higher, but he has the same kind of shoulder rotation. They both hit the ball with the shoulder rotation. Here's what's different about Mats Wilander, though. He can hit this one as well. That's the slice, high to low instead of low to high as he comes through the ball. That is the element that Andrej Chesnokov does not yet have, although he's talking about trying to develop it. The rain has started, the umbrellas are out, and the players have left the court. So we are... Mats Wilander is the holder of this title. He's also the number 4 seed in this championship. He's playing in this match against Andrej Chesnokov of the Soviet Union, an unseeded player who has beaten Karlover Steve among others, and then Jim Courier after being 2 sets to love down. We are in the first set of this match. This is live coverage now of this quarterfinal round match, men's singles. 4-3 Chesnokov, and game point. The score is 40 love.
And Wilander has lost the first 3 points of this game. Long rallies. He came in second to Chesnokov on all 3. And already he's angry with himself.
You have been listening to the voices of Barry Tompkins and Fred Stolle on court 1, or I should say this stadium court. Earlier today they called this match. You're now listening to Mary Carrillo, and I'm Cliff Drysdale. Chesnokov 40-15, 4-3, first set. Andrej Chesnokov is 23 years old. He's been in the quarterfinal here twice. This is his favorite surface and his best Grand Slam results. He was here. He was in the quarterfinals last year, as you may remember, and back in '86 when we covered him, he beat Mats Wilander in '86.
Third round, straight set victory. A very frustrated Wilander in that match.
And he's the first Russian to be in the top 50 since Alex Metrovelli in the mid-70s, a guy who used to play alongside the fiery one, Fred Stolle and myself. Chesnokov holds on. It's 5-3. You may remember Metrovelli best for getting to the finals of Wimbledon in the Wimbledon boycott year. The Soviet players did not honor the ATP boycott of Wimbledon at that time, or withdraw rather, because of a kind of a union spat with the International Tennis Federation that was backed up by the All England Club Committee. Jan Kodesh won that tournament. 3-5. Wilander serving first set.
Now that I know you, Cliff, it's a totally different story, but you led that boycott. You were the ATP president at the time, and that's when I first began to admire you. Of course, through the years, now that I know you, a lot of that has faded, but at the time,
I figured that
I thought you were the greatest thing in tennis. Oh, it's well done. Well, there's still politics involved with the Russian players. We'll talk about that.
There's still politics involved in the ATP, too, as you know. But thank you.
Nice play by Chesnokov, who again takes the initiative before Wilander. Chesnokov, as we mentioned, is unseated here. His Soviet counterpart in the women's draw, Natalia Zvereva, has you have another look at Chesy. Zvereva was seated third here, promptly lost, tanked, because she continues to tank until she gets some of the prize money from the Soviet Federation. Chesy, who feels just as strongly about receiving money, plays on, tries hard, and I think his attitude is much more to be admired than Zvereva. It's to be settled by the end of this French Open. The Soviet money situation. In the beginning, Chesnokov said he would hope to get about 40%. He'd get to keep 40% of his earnings. Now he figures that the percentage will probably be in the 25 to 30% range, which is still much more money than he's getting now. Pretty much just expenses.
Expenses, Mary, are not that significant either. Mats Wilander 40-15. As a matter of fact, let's watch this replay.
40-15.
Drop shot from Mats Wilander. Chesnokov got to it, but the court was open, and that volley from Wilander was a clean winner. Game point to the holder. Wilander holds serve, but when we come back, Andrej Chesnokov will serve for the first set. You're looking on live Stadium Court at Roland Garros. Chesnokov of the Soviet Union will serve for the first set against the number 4 seed Mats Wilander. Getting back to the subject of expenses and the prize money that the players do or do not get, the Soviet Union players. After Munich this year, which he won, he got on a train, traveled 6 hours to Hamburg, and lost in the first round. Hamburg. Somebody said to him afterwards, "Why'd you do that?" He said, "That's all they pay. That's all the expenses we get is for the train fare, no flights." When We're playing inside Europe. That story from Craig Gabriel, who writes for USA Today, among others. And one other reference to what you said, Mary, Rafaela Reggi beats Zvereva. Zvereva led a set and 5-2 before she put on the goggles and flippers.
Very first round. Oh boy. Here's Wilander trying to make a stand against Chesnokov in this first set. Totally mishit that forehand. This point right here should decide the set. 30-love. Again, too short. Boy, and Chesnokov is all over it. The hour-and-a-half rain delay has not bothered Chesnokov's concentration one bit. And Wilander playing exactly as he had in the opening games of this match.
Set point, 3 of them for Andrej Chesnokov.
He's got to declare himself, Wilander. He's got to go for it. Well, we mentioned that Wilander is a slow starter. He's been playing poor first sets in every round he's played to get to the quarters, and yet that is the only set he's lost in the entire French Open this year.
You have to add to that the fact that the man he's playing against, Chesnokov, has the same problem, but when you look at his overall record here at the French Open, that's a great record. In fact, it's the best of any player here in the tournament. Wielander's not happy with the call. The linesman gets out of the chair. He's going to check it.
And he needs every point he can get. Wielander's saying he was further back. He pointed to the wrong mark, buddy.
So Skippy Ings gets out of the chair, and he will check it.
He found the mark that Mats thought he made. It's an overrule. Well done by the chair.
See, what happens sometimes is the guys who sit in the line, actually, they can see the ball bounce, but they don't have a good view of exactly where they can see it as it happens, but they have a tough time sometimes picking up where it ends up. And the man in the chair, in this case, Skippy Ings, has got a good feel for it. So I love it when he gets down and says, no, this is the mark, let's check it. He got the right mark. The overrule is in force. First point.
It's not often you see Wilander argue for a point, but the fact is he hasn't been able to put together points in a row enough to hurt Chesnokov. He needs everyone.
When he does complain, it gets the guys' attention because they know that the chances are he's right.
He's got to do more with the ball.
Cajuns, Gans.
Andrej Chesnokov is the top player from the Soviet Union. He's ranked in the top 30 in the world. Alexander Volkov a year ago was 71. He's now 35. And then you've got Andrej Wilander. He was 250. He's now 101. And Orlovsky. His ranking is also good. Andrej Orlovsky was 174. He's 159. So they have 5 players now in the top 200 in the world. When tennis got back into the Olympics, it made a big difference to how they treat.
That's exactly right. 3 women in the top 50, too.
30 all.
Cajuns.
Wilander in trouble. First game, second set. He lost the first set. Break point.
He's working the point around better now, Wilander. He's waiting for the moment. He's doing a little bit more with the ball when he really has to. And I think he realizes how long and complicated a task it is to win points from this man Chesnokov. You have got to work harder than he was willing to work, it seemed, in that first set. There's only one break, but boy, you get the feeling that there's a lot more between these two right now. Chesnokov seems so solid.
That overhead will give Chesnokov his 3rd break point in the match. He has broken, as you just said, Mary, only once. Wilander, on the other hand, has not got to a break point yet.
Took 2 smashes. Chesnokov stayed in control of the point. Closed when he had to.
Oh, Chesnokov has broken again, and he has 1 game to love in the second set and 1 set to love. We'll be back.
That service break that Chesnokov scored over Wilander, of course, decided the first set. The unforced errors, that they seem even, don't they? But the fact is that in 2 previous matches coming into this one, Wilander had less than 20 in the entire match. He's already got 17. We're not even close to midway through the second set here. So he's off the pace.
Gans,
Another
0.
one.
Tant, 0.
Cliff Drysdale with Mary Carrillo Stadium Court at Roland Garros, the French Championships quarterfinals men's day at the French. You're watching Mats Wilander and Andrej Chesnokov of the Soviet Union. Chesnokov won the first set and has a break in the second. He has 30 love. We'll continue to show you the other quarterfinal match between Agenor and Chang, either if it rains or after this match.
Tant, Gans.
This is the last of the 4 quarterfinal matches already in the semi-finals. Matches played yesterday. Edberg over Mancini of Argentina in straight sets, and Boris Becker surprised Jay Berger in 3 sets. The result was not a surprise, but as easily as Becker won it, that was.
Gans.
So in the semi-final here, Becker will play Edberg, and the winner of this match will play the winner of the Chang-Agenor match.
So much concern on Wilander's face there. He knows what to do, and he's just not been able to do it.
40, Tant.